game over. Johnny, you're gonna need a big approach. Why so serious? Roll out.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Chasing the Gold. I'm In Session Film Awards editor Shadan Larkey. Because real world stuff has gotten in my way, I will not be able to see The Odyssey until maybe next weekend, not opening weekend, sadly. So that will be next week where we sort of talk about The Odyssey and updated Oscar picks. This week, though, there was some other awards news that has taken place, which is that we have our Emmy nominations, and I realize this is a film website, but y'all know I'm an avid TV watcher, and I do track the Emmys, so I have Amanda Spears back with me today, and we're going to talk about the Emmy nominations and how they do tie into the Oscars and narratives and all those kinds of things, because they are related to each other, and a lot of things that, you know, don't end up maybe being Oscar plays get submitted for Emmys, etc., etc. So they are maybe like loosely tied cousins or estranged siblings. I don't know, something of that nature.
Well, E does come before O in EGOT, so I don't know what that. I don't think they're really in order of importance. Yeah, so thanks for having me back.
Always a pleasure to have you back. Amanda, I guess before we jump in, first of all, how have you been? How has the summer been treating you? How have the summer movie season been treating you? Are you like, you know, already, I mean, you're always thinking about awards because why else would you be here if you weren't? But how are you feeling? What's like the temperature of Amanda Spears in terms of your life and also your awards watching life, I guess?
Well, I just watched The Invite last week, Olivia Munn's new film, and it's so good. It was so good. I give the theater an F because the air conditioning was not on high enough and it was really uncomfortable. So thank God that was like an hour, 45-minute movie tops. I really loved Seth Rogen in that film. That was my big takeaway. I was like, ooh, where is he going to be? Where are they going to put him? Was my big question. Are they going to try and put them all in supporting because it's just an ensemble? I would go ahead and pencil this film in for a SAG ensemble or the actor ensemble award, because even though it is a very small cast, it's the same reason why at least these films like Sinners win, or Conclave, or you know, you just get a talented group of actors together, you lock them in a room, and all of a sudden you've got movie magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did our with Megan Kearns, we did our, you know, best of the year so far episode last week. It's in the feed now if you haven't had a chance to listen and watch, and we were both very high on The Invite. I would definitely say like screenplay seems pretty darn safe-ish at the moment. And I'll just say again, I thought Olivia Wilde, like her performance was just incredible. The direction
I always
was
get
great.
the names mixed up. I'm sorry.
Love to all Olivias out there.
Yes.
Munn and Wilde. But yeah, and she's just having such an incredible year. So I would like to see an acting mention for her. And then since we're sort of doing our media we've seen recently first this week, I did want to shout out the film Couture because Megan mentioned it to me last week as one of her favorites of the year. And I noticed that my AMC was like, there was one showing left the following day. So I was like, I'm going to go. And I really, really like this movie. I think Angelina Jolie is so good. Megan said it well. She's just like hypnotic and reminds you why she is such a charismatic star. And I love like all of the actresses because there's sort of different interwoven storylines. I thought all of the actresses were great. I totally understand why it may not work for everyone. Not all elements of the film are sort of on par with one another, but I really liked it and I really wish more people would see it. And I'm once again kicking myself for missing Couture at TIFF. So Couture, really wonderful viewing experience. And then Amanda, went to see Citizen Kane because they're doing like an 85-year re-release at AMC.
I'm
So I did
jealous.
I did a
Here?
Couture Citizen Kane double feature, which is so random, but it turned out to be an absolute blast. So
Yeah, it probably was. I would love to do something like that. They didn't have that, but I did. I mean, the dig. I want to make sure everyone knows we're not barreling towards a slur. I
mhm.
saw that trailer a few times.
I haven't watched it yet.
Man,
I'm trying to stay away from trailers, but I will say Tom Cruise, like he is going for it. They did a whole event just for the trailer release.
all that makeup. I mean, he's trying. It looks like he's really after it,
And
and
I
it
feel
would be
like
his
people
fourth nomination. So,
mhm. And people are forgetting that Iñárritu won Best Director back to back. I realize the internet has soured on him a little bit, but I don't think that translates at all to the Academy. So,
and I think he did the right thing by disappearing for a while after he went back to back, because there's always going to be people, even within the industry, who are going to be rooting against you. I think that was probably what happened with Damien Chazelle and First Man more than anything, is that it was just too soon. Like, we already made you the youngest director winner. Okay, like,
which
really.
is a shame because I think First Man is a great movie. So let me once again talk about First Man. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about First Man and how good that score is. Which is on
Well,
my
yeah, I mean, it's not Babylon, but it's just, I think it was too soon right after La La Land to people had their knives out for it.
Yeah. Well, Justin Hurwitz is doing that tour where they, play the film and then have like I would love to go, but I was looking up tickets and I was like, I am too broke to be able to pull this one off. But if anyone has any like magical free tickets to Justin Hurwitz playing the La La Land score, y'all know where to find me.
Yeah, the score category is one to look at this year because there could be a lot of returning people. Of course, Ludwig Göransson trying to go back to back, which is a very rare feat. But we shall see. I haven't seen the Odyssey yet either.
Yeah.
But if it's as great
Well,
as the reviews have made it out to be, then it could beat Oppenheimer's 8.
we'll definitely have to
So,
check in post Odyssey. And I will say, speaking of like too much too soon, Ludwig Göransson winning a fourth in his 30s, I think, late 30s would just be crazy. So I'm not rooting against him necessarily, but I think, let someone else have a turn.
we'll see how it pans out, because he's not just gonna it's not gonna be a gimme unless the score is like the most epic thing you've ever. Yeah, I mean, it's
Right.
very possible. It's very possible that it just might be too good to miss. But we'll see. He's in a very rare spot where he could do this. I
Right.
don't think
Well,
it's happened since Alan Menken.
speaking
So that would put
of
him right up there with some of the bigger legends in that category.
which I think he's already like in that conversation. I just don't know. Like I'm sure he's gonna win again at some point. I just don't know if they're gonna do it back to back to your point. But speaking of I think awards narratives that do tie into the Emmys, Coleman Domingo, a double Emmy nominee, which I very stupidly left him off the comedy supporting actor predictions that I had. I thought, okay, he's gonna get in for Euphoria, it's fine. They double nominated him for the Four Seasons and Euphoria. And by the way, guys, I'm a big Four Seasons stan. I love that show. I love seeing rich people vacation in nice places. I think it's great. I think the second season's even better than the first season. I really enjoy it. Do I think that nomination needed to happen? Not necessarily. But what it did teach me is that awards voters really love Coleman Domingo and not to underestimate Coleman Domingo. And the other bit of movie happenings this week, Amanda, is that Michael, the film, surpassed $1 billion, billion with a B, at the box office, officially the highest grossing biopic of all time and the highest grossing musical biopic of all time. So I would just like to say, I think we may be underestimating the idea of Coleman Domingo picking up some nominations this season, if not all the way to the Oscars. That he's gonna be there. He's gonna campaign potentially. Yeah, as soon as I saw the double nominations, I was like, this has to mean something come Oscar.
Well, I mean, with Coleman Domingo, when he got nominated for the first season, the 4 seasons, I was like, well, he was just an Oscar nominee. It kind of makes sense that they'd show him some love. I like that show, but I get why it's not getting wider support. But I didn't think he'd get back in. Now, I know the buzz around his performance in Euphoria is huge, and he is in a position where, looking at the list of the nominees, he may be the front runner. I mean, it's hard to count out someone like Bradley Whitford, because when they like you at the Emmys, they really, really, really like you. And they really, really, really like Bradley Whitford. So he could be the front runner, but Jeff Hiller, they like him. They pretty much put him on the map last year with his win over Harrison Ford. So, but yeah, I like Coleman.
I mean, I love Coleman Domingo. I am still telling people to watch Sing Sing. I think it's like one of the best movies of this century so far, or this decade so far, I should say, and this century. Honestly, I like Sing Sing that much. I'll go to bat for Sing Sing any day. But I do think there is like an award sort of afterglow. I mean, Chase Infinity, like she got snubbed at the Oscars, but she was the only nomination, shockingly, for The Testaments. So clearly there was like
That's a
somewhat
good
of an
one.
afterglow
Yeah.
happening.
Well, I think it's always, I think that role was always meant to get attention. But if you went all season being the golden girl of award season, the it girl, yes, she was snubbed at the Oscars, but she had PTA give her a shout out in his best picture acceptance speech, where he's like, "And Chase, you're the American girl," which was adorable. And then, like 2 weeks later, The Testaments premiered. One thing's for certain is that Zendaya currently has won twice in that category. Now, she's won a lot. She won as the only nominee for Euphoria for the first season. But what you have to remember is that she was the it girl. She was the young, hot ingenue, and they don't usually go that way at the Emmys. But compared to Chase Infinity, after you've already won twice and now you're married, you can't play the ingenue anymore. So that one is a race to look at as drama actress, because you have Rhea Seehorn for Pluribus in the lead category on the hot new show, basically. All of those nominations, Vince Gilligan show. And then you have the surprise actor award winner. I hate calling it the actor award. The SAG award winner, finally, Kerry Russell, who, she's been on TV a long time, most of her life. So if those two split their votes or the support, she could sneak in there, because this is a good opportunity. We see this sometimes at award shows between like the Globes and the Emmys and the Oscars, where it's like, hey, look what we're going to do. We're going to give it to Chase Infinity. I would not count it out of the realm of possibilities, because the show is all on her shoulders practically. And that is like a big role. I mean, we've been hearing about Hannah and Hannah/Agnes for a long time now, and it's such a good performance. I don't know if you've seen the series, but she really, really gives a great performance in that show. So this might be her chance.
A little bit of it, because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to dive back into that world necessarily, but I'm not shocked she got in. I think her being the only nomination for that show is probably working against her to win, but also shows that I think mostly the nomination is like a little bit of a afterglow. And I mean, like, I'm thinking of sort of Bryan Cranston. He got nominated for Trumbo shortly after Breaking Bad had its big awards, run and show. And then, of course, you have like Kieran Culkin winning an Oscar straight after
Yeah, but they
Succession.
didn't nominate Jacob Elordi, and he's on an established show, and he was on Euphoria. He just got an Oscar nomination. They didn't nominate him. So they
Well, I
are
mean,
somewhat paying attention to who they're nominating.
I definitely agree, but I do think like being on a beloved TV show is going to help you a lot. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that both Jeremy Strong and Kieran Culkin, got nominated fresh off of Succession. And then, of course, like Matthew McConaughey, famously, I think like True Detective was such a big part of his awards narrative.
True
Well, you don't
Detective is
agree?
really great at winning Oscars. It's only like so at winning Emmys. Like only Jodie. Like the minute I saw Jodie Foster was being announced for the third season, I'm like, what movie does she have coming out? That was my first reaction. Was what movie do you? And then I heard Nicolas Cage is in talks to do the fourth season. I'm like, what movie does he have coming out? Like it's a great way to win an Oscar. Who wouldn't want to do True Detective if it was? I mean, Jodie Foster won an Emmy, and practically swept. But it was kind of her welcome back party too. But yeah, I love True Detective. Really bad at winning Emmys, but it will definitely help you if you're a man win an Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially like, the sheen of True Detective has worn off a little bit, but like that first season, I think people forget how much of a conversation that was and sort of like the rebirth of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
I
and
think
Carrie
there's
Mulligan is in an interesting
Mhm.
spot herself. I know I messaged you about this, but for some of these people this year, if there's a theme for this year's Emmys, it's now or never for a lot of them. It could be now or it may be never as far as winning is concerned. But for Carrie Mulligan, this is the moment right now for her. She is in a very similar spot to where Julianne Moore was in 2012 when the film Game Change. She'd been nominated 4 times for an Oscar more. She'd never won a major award. And the more you're nominated at these, the more losses you just kind of start racking up. You start losing 3, 4 awards every year. I don't want to say it makes you look like a loser, but it doesn't make you look good. You're just kind of this perennial person who's there. And then
And
go ahead.
oh, well, I was just gonna say to add to your point, I think people maybe forget that you keep losing. I think there's a lot of actors out there, someone like a Ralph Fiennes, like a Willem Dafoe, where because they're nominated a lot, people assume that they've already, won once or twice and they haven't. Same thing with like Martin Scorsese. People are shocked that the man only has one Oscar because he's like the perennial nominee.
Yeah, but after a certain point, it does change. So what happened basically is that she finally went through an entire award season where she did not lose, and she didn't lose a televised award. She won the Emmy, she won the Globe, she won the SAG award, and then her next film, Still Alice, came out, and we could talk about what a Lifetime movie that is for another hour, but it did again change her narrative to like, why haven't we given her an Oscar? Why have we waited so long? And Michelle Williams was in a very similar situation. She finally, after losing 4 times, Fosse Verdon came back. TV was like, well, of course we're going to award one of our own. But she won an Emmy, she won the Globe, she won the SAG, and then to make it even more historic, she also won the Critics' Choice and the TCA award. So she never lost. And then 4 years later, Fabelmans came out. Now, she picked the wrong category, but that would have been her opportunity. Now, here's Carrie Mulligan in season 2 of Beef. She's lost 3 Oscars. She's racked up a lot of losses. Yes, she has won BAFTA, but she won BAFTA for an education when the Oscar frontrunner wasn't eligible because The Blind Side had not come out in the UK. She's in a very similar situation where she's just kind of been nominated. She's not really been in the conversation as far as winning is concerned. And this is her opportunity. This is her golden opportunity right now to win this race, to win for Beef season 2. And she needs to not only win the Emmy, she needs to win the Globe, and she also needs an actor award. She needs at least those 3. Now, The problem is that she is not such a strong frontrunner that Moore was or Michelle Williams was. She's in a race, really, and that enters Sarah Snook. She didn't win the actor award, which may or may not help her because, she hasn't. Sometimes the more you win leading up to the Emmy, the worse it's the harder it is to win the Emmy, which is weird, but it happens. But she is going to be a potential problem. Now, Peacock hasn't been a big player yet, so we don't know how well it will do. It didn't get nominations across the board. It missed some places. And then the one you really have to look out for is Sarah Pidgeon for Love Story, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, and JFK Jr., because she plays Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. But you have to remember, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy never did an interview. There's barely any video or film of her speaking more than a word or two. So she had to flush out this entire character out of basically an enigma of a person and some, tapes. So it is very possible that the newcomer could upset. And, say what you want about Ryan Murphy Productions, but he knows how to cast better than almost anyone because he knows how to find these people and give them their break. I mean, a year ago, Carey Mulligan would not have even thought this unknown actress would have been a threat to her. I mean, a year ago, this girl was a brunette.
Right. Well, I will say the limited actress category is my favorite category in general, because I would even say there's a very good shot that, like, Sally Field, yes, it's not as common for actors in TV movies to win. I think it was the first acting nominee for a TV movie in like more than a decade. Yeah, since Laura Dern.
And
so
it's been 24 years since 14 years since one won, because Julianne Moore was the last one to win. I don't know if I'd make that prediction, but yeah,
I'm not making the prediction either. I actually think I'm not sure who I have right now. Sarah Snook, maybe. So I'm not predicting Sally Field, but she's Sally Field, and I don't think, a movie that everyone watched with their mom starring Sally Field should be completely written off. And then the other nominee that we haven't talked about yet is Claire Danes, who is like a perennial favorite and one of our goddesses on television. So in general, that's like one of my favorite category to kind of talk about. But Beef in general is also interesting because in addition to Carey Mulligan, you have Oscar Isaac, who I feel like is an interesting actor because, like, for a long time he seemed like one of those actors that was like destined to get an Oscar nomination and Oscar win. And obviously it could still happen for him, but it seems like his trajectory with Oscar has fallen off a little bit. So to have him have this like big TV moment and get the Emmy nomination is interesting. And then Charles Melton, got snubbed for May December. So he's very good in the show, but like this could be a like makeup nomination a little bit of, hey, like we've had our eye on you, we know what you're up to. And then in the supporting category, you have Yoon Yoo-jung, who obviously won the Oscar for Minari, who gets nominated instead of Kaylee Spaney, who, again, Kaylee Spaney's also kind of been one of those actresses that seems like she is positioned to maybe be an Oscar nominee within the next decade. So it's interesting sort of what the Emmys did with that cast.
It's funny with Yoo Young-jun because it's like 6-7 years ago, barely anyone in this country knew who she was, and now she might be an Emmy and an Oscar winner. But I think, for her, she's got to look out for Laurie Metcalf, because Laurie Metcalf is having one of those years where it feels like they could just want to pin flowers, pin more awards to her, especially when you have Meryl Streep's endorsement. It's she does a really great, evil, scary mother in Monster. But
she does. I also just want to say, like, Linda Cardellini is on her 4th nomination, and I would love to see her win for DTF St. Louis. So again, that's another category that I'm super interested in. And also, Yoo Yoo-jung should have won an Emmy for Pachinko. So if she wins an Emmy for Beef instead, I won't complain. But yeah, it's interesting, like these sort of acting people that kind of come to television. Sometimes it hits for them, sometimes it doesn't, and then like Mark Ruffalo, with all this, what is it? This much is true. All this much is all whatever that. Oh my god, I can't think of the name of that show.
I know what you're thinking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
he won an Emmy for that double. That was a horrible
yeah,
limited
which is
series,
one of
but
my favorite HBO things that I've ever seen, and I read the book and I was just obsessed. So, do I think he's winning for Task? No, but just to have him back
yeah.
is fun. And I
But for
do
Mark
think like
Ruffalo, the one thing I would say is that I would especially in lead actor, I'll just give everybody a hint. For lead actor in a drama series, 14 out of the last 15 winners have won for either their first season or their last season, with the exception being Jeremy Strong, who won for his second season on the series. Yes, I know that was his first nomination, but we're talking seasons. With only Jeff Daniels winning without a series being nominated, and that was under a different voting system. So the fact that Task did not get nominated is probably going to be Mark Ruffalo's biggest problem. If the series was nominated, he might actually be the front runner if that had happened. But he's a past Emmy winner himself. But I don't know. He's just had really poor timing when it comes to the Oscars. And
But
yeah,
he
I
seems
know
like
this much is
another
true.
one, and he has Being Human, the Sean Hayter film that's possibly going to be in contention this year. So he seems like another one that's like positioned to where the next time he's in a film that hits, like he could just go along, similar to like a Robert Downey Jr. type of a vibe. Also, the show is called I Know This Much Is True. I'm sorry that I was tripping over the words there, but if you haven't seen it, it's one of my favorite HBO miniseries of all time. But yeah, so Mark Ruffalo is an interesting one to sort of have back in there. Who are some other, before we started recording this, I was looking at that show American Classic with Laura Linney and Kevin Kline, and I was like, it's crazy to me that we have a show with like literal legends and no one talks about it. I mean, it's on MGM Plus, so it just seems like it's buried a little bit, but we're kind of in this age of TV where we have so many TV stars. Like I remember Laura Linney doing the John Adams miniseries was like such a big deal because back then nobody did TV if you were,
Yeah,
a film actor.
that's still the record holding TV limited series winner with 13 wins. That still holds the record on the limited series size overall, not. But one category to keep an eye on, because I think a lot of us thought he was going to win last year, but he couldn't do it, was Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, who has never won a competitive award for acting. And we saw last year he had so much momentum going into it, with not only being an actor nominee, a SAG Award nominee, but he had that great season finale episode where he's funny enough for Harrison Ford. I think that's fair to say. And then he has this really heartwarming monologue at the end. And a lot of people thought it was going to be Ford or maybe Ike Barinholtz. But Harrison Ford did not win. So now he's back again. And we have seen this sometimes with the Emmys where it takes an extra year. Oh, gosh. I hate when my brain just cannot remember names. I'm trying to think about this 1 second. A good example of that would be like Ben Mendelsohn, who's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Another good
Mm-hmm.
example of that, who's also, like a former Bond girl herself, was Tandy Newton, who, everyone thought might win the first season, but it took an extra season to win. But Shrinking is not the series front runner, so he's not for sure got this down now that now that Jeff Hiller is out of the race and Ike Barinholtz is sitting the season out. I mean, we don't know how much his co-star Michael Urie is taking away from him, because in Michael Urie's defense, he's been on television most of his career. So they might feel like, well, this guy's slumming.
And I just want to point out, in terms of Shrinking, we do have 5-time Emmy winner and honorary Oscar winner Michael J. Fox in the guest actor category, so he could easily make it a 6th Emmy. But Yeah,
They did
Shrinking,
not
I think
nominate
is
Candice Bergen, so that
they
is a
didn't
big.
they didn't. But I think Shrinking in general, I don't know, I feel like maybe it hasn't taken off the way that we thought it might at this point. Like it seems like there's nominations that it left on the table. Jason Segel, there was like a couple moments where we thought maybe he could be the winner, and then the studio sort of came along and took a lot of that momentum away from Shrinking. So Shrinking's been like an interesting, I think.
Yeah, Shrinking is just timing's never been on Shrinking's side, but now he's got to be worried about how big is Hack's potential sweep going to be? Because if Hacks, for example, is winning series, actress, supporting actress for Hannah Einbinder, potentially probably drama writing and comedy writing, and then maybe picking up one of the guest races, uh, you know, would Jaws really drop if Paul W. Downs went along for the ride in that situation? We see this all the time. But
I mean,
yeah,
I would
I
love
mean,
that. I think he's great. Honestly, and I
I
think
would be ecstatic if he somehow. I love him, and I love that the first person he called was Meg Stalter.
I was gonna say, and no disrespect to Hannah Einbinder, I adore her, but I think Meg Stalter is so funny on Hacks, and I'm so happy to see her finally get a nomination. She should have been nominated for that role before. Honestly, the whole time she should have just been nominated. She's like one of the best parts of that show, and it's a great
She
show.
wasn't even a
So
series regular until season 2, but I loved her last season. It really usually when you're the reigning champion in comedy or drama, you get an uptick in nominations. But unfortunately, because the studio came in and sucked all the air out of the room, Hacks didn't get that. So Meg Stalter didn't had to wait an extra year for her nomination. But I just love that Paul W. Downs had to call her, and he's like, "No, you're lying to me." Like that's the cutest thing. But I think guest actor in a comedy is very interesting because you have Michael J. Fox, who's had a horrible time trying to win one of these guest acting races, just in general. And then you have like a perennial, again, been around for a long, long time, Christopher McDonald, maybe famous for Happy Gilmore. But then you also have Rob Reiner for The Bear. I
mhm.
can't even remember what he did on The Bear, but considering what happened, they're not known to be sentimental, but
If there's anyone to be sentimental for, it would be Rob Reiner for sure.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
speaking of the Bear, I wanted to bring up Jeremy Allen White because obviously they left off both Jeremy Allen White and Eben Moss-Bachrach. So they've sort of
Liza
cooled,
Colin-Zayas, yeah, they
yeah,
snubbed a lot.
yeah, they've cooled on the Bear a little bit. But last year with the Springsteen movie, we thought maybe that could be Jeremy Allen White's sort of path to his first Oscar nomination. He has The Social Reckoning coming out, which I just heard The Social Reckoning is doing reshoots, which doesn't bode well for a movie coming out in 3 months. So I'm not predicting him or anything, but he does seem like another one of those TV stars that could be getting like an Oscar nomination within the next decade, especially with the projects that he's picking. He seems like he's well positioning himself.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that The Bear had a drop off. I'm surprised that Ayo Edebiri was the last one standing. I expected it to be Jeremy Allen White, like most people probably, and that has nothing to do with not how with a lack of quality from Ayo. It's just she's a soft lead at best, and yeah, she's the last woman standing. But when you think about like comedy guest actress, you talk about Oscar Emmys, everyone gave Jamie Lee Curtis so much backlash about her winning that Oscar. And then she's like, I'm going to shut the haters down and take my victory lap through The Bear with an episode that was like a tornado. And she had to wait an entire year to see if someone could catch up to her, and they could not.
Mm-hmm.
And now she is back for one last time. So we will see, or potentially one last time. But my favorite couple got nominated this year, which was Sherry Jones and Leslie Bibb. I
um,
was my initial gut reaction was, well, Sherry Jones is winning. They love her. Uh,
I would love to see Leslie Bibb win. I feel like she's one of those underrated actresses that's been good in so many things for so long.
yeah,
So I was
I
happy to
agree.
see her finally get nominated.
I was so thrilled, especially after all of those ladies got nominated last year for White Lotus, and she was left out. But Sherry Jones is just one of their favorite people. I mean, they do something they rarely ever do in her case, and that is she's already won back to back acting drama guest races, and that is like the rarest of all. That is why Sean Hannity decided that he was going to be supporting this year, because it's like, do you really think you're going to break a 50-year trend?
Well, they changed the
Um,
Emmy rules to where if you were previously nominated as you can't be nominated as guest again if you were nominated as guest. So that, which
if
is,
you were
I
nominated
mean,
as lead or supporting, that's you
right.
can't be. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Claire
Which is
Foy rule.
a rule that I don't like. It makes sense, but like if you look at Sean Hannity, like that man is clearly a guest in season 2 of The Pit. Like he should not be in the supporting actor category at
No,
all. Another shouts to Amanda's dog. I feel like he's like our number one cameo star in all these. He just hangs
it's his
out with us.
birthday, and he wants to watch his episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, did you get him
I'm
like a
not kidding.
puppy cake or like a
Yeah, he
special
has his
bow?
little cake, but he likes to
Oh,
watch the ball pit episode of The Big Bang Theory. The Einstein approximation. I think it's 16, season 3, episode 15 or 16. He charges if you've ever seen my Instagram, he charges my television and starts jumping up and down. So that's what I'm doing later tonight. But
that,
back to that. Sorry about him, but Sherry Jones is just one of those actresses they love, and it's like I would love for Leslie Bibb to win, but she's in every scene with Sherry Jones. It's like,
right.
but that episode was one of the best episodes of TV of the year.
It was. It was. I also want to bring up Margot's Got Money Troubles because Elle Fanning, fresh off of her first Oscar nomination, gets the Emmy nom, which seems kind of inevitable as soon as that project was even announced. I mean, she, was nominated previously for The Great, but then you have Michelle Pfeiffer, another one of those sort of multiple Oscar nominees where it just never came together for her. And I think she maybe could win the Emmy, but maybe this will be kind of like you were mentioning, this reminder of like, look how great she is, and I can't believe we didn't award her. So the next time a prestige film comes around, she could be further in the Oscar conversation. She's phenomenal in Margot Got Money Troubles. In fact, the entire time I was watching that show, that's what I was thinking about, was like, we've really taken Michelle Pfeiffer for granted. She's so good.
Yeah, at least she's not nominated against all of her husband's actors this time. That's what happened to her with her Wizard of.
Oh, I forgot she was in that. I was gonna say, like, I don't know
Yeah,
if she's done a ton of TV.
she was
Yeah.
nominated on the same year, all those Big Little Lies, and somebody asked me like, who should win Best Supporting Actor for a limited series? I'm like, David E. Kelly, because he's got to pretend to be happy if it's Laura Linney, or upset if it's not, and happy if it's his wife. He's in a really horrible situation here where.
That's so
But they
true.
both went home Emmyless, so it's okay. But the more successful you are as a mega producer, content creator, as far as TV is concerned, the harder it is for you to win individually. So someone like Vince Gilligan, he really wants this to work out. I don't care who you are. You want to win. You want that individual recognition, and the irony. The irony is that people are like, well, didn't he win for writing for Breaking Bad? I'm like, no, he did not write Ozymandias. That was one of his co-writers, and he was nominated for the finale, and there was no way Ozymandias was going to lose writing that year. That was one of the best episodes of TV of the final decade. And irony, Rian Johnson from Knives Out directed that, did not get nominated.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he also directed the worst episode, the bottle episode, the bug or the fly, whatever. Yep, best and worst, kind of.
Another actor I want to bring up, I don't think he's winning the Emmy, but I'm a huge Tom Pelphrey fan. So I'm adding him to my list of actors that I think with the right project could get an Oscar nomination because I just think he's brilliant. And he hasn't done a ton of film yet. But I think when the time comes,
He is
he could.
great. He is great. I loved him in Ozark. I felt bad that he didn't get nominated for the third season. So when he came back and did that one final haunting scene in season 4, I was so happy he got the guest acting nomination. And he is so good opposite Mark Ruffalo in this that you're kind of like, no offense to Mark Ruffalo, it's like sometimes there's just a supporting role that just takes too much attention away from you. Like that just happens sometimes. It does. It happens. But we see someone like Nick Offerman's nominated twice. But then you have to look at like Widow's Bay is not a comedy. I didn't even know what the series was a week ago, and I'm just like, history does not favor Matthew Rhys winning lead actor. And I'll ask you one little trivia question. Can you name somebody who's won both lead acting races in a drama and a comedy series?
Did Cranston win for Malcolm?
Bryan Cranston was supporting for Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh.
Supporting.
Then no, I don't know who it is off the top of my head.
The only person that we would have been alive to see do this was Edie Falco.
Oh.
For both The Sopranos and Nurse Jackie. So like Jennifer Aniston couldn't do it a couple years ago. So history is not on his side. That's one to look out for. Since he's done some film, history doesn't favor him repeating. But then, you have someone like Oscar nominee Steve Carell, who's never won an Emmy, doesn't want to campaign. He would have to actually go out there and say, look, I've never won. But Rooster is not the best series.
Right. And I should say Steve Carell is another one of those actors where I'm not saying the Oscar nomination wasn't deserved, because it was, but there has to be some subset of voters that were like, we really loved you in The Office. And I think that contributes to it for sure. It's interesting that somebody like a Jennifer Aniston, she was never able to translate that sitcom love into Oscar love, but then you have Allison Janney that was able to win against Laurie Metcalf, mind you. That was the battle of the two iconic TV actresses.
I remember hearing that they were talking about that. Did you ever think an Oscar race would come down to the two of us? They were just, two of the most grateful people. And that is one of the things when people ask me, what can the Oscars do to improve? I'm like, they need a consultant who understands how these nominees are connected, because also nominated that year was Aaron Sorkin. So if I were running the seating chart for the Oscars, this is exactly what I would have done. And think about how good this would have been. I would have seated him right behind Allison Janney. Allison Janney wins. She hugs and kisses her husband, hugs Margot Robbie. Who do you think she hugs next? Because he's right behind her.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Sorkin. Then I would have made sure there was a camera on Bradley Whitford, who was there for Get Out. And it would have been hashtag West Wing Oscar reunion. They could have really had a bigger moment if they thought about how these people are connected to one another. Because everyone knew Allison Janney was going to win, and everybody kind of knows who Aaron Sorkin is. So it's not a big deal to put him behind her.
Well, speaking of Bradley Whitford and Allison Janney, the only reason I started watching The Diplomat was because I was like, oh, Bradley Whitford is in it now, and I want to see him reunite with Allison Janney. So I started watching the show from the beginning purely for the two of them, to see them in a scene together again. So the power of nostalgia and co-star pairings cannot be underestimated.
I remember when I heard Bradley Whitford was joining The Handmaid's Tale, and it was right after Get Out. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to go from the face of racism to a rapist in 1 year. I'm like, I was so glad his character wasn't one of these evil, pervy guys like the rest of them. I was like, oof. I'm like, dude, you might want to think about this a can't
Yeah.
wait for it.
I haven't gotten to the part of The Diplomat where Bradley Whitford shows up, but I don't like Bradley Whitford as a villain. Like, I like him to be nice, so I don't know if he is villainous.
He had me in
but
tears in the final season of The Handmaid's Tale in his last episode, but yeah,
I don't think I watched the last season. I can't
Oh my
remember if I did or not.
I'll talk to you about it off air, but
Yeah, I was like,
there's
the torture porn was just too strong.
they got past that. You just got to skip like season 3 and 4.
Well,
But
speaking of the Testaments, are you surprised that Ann Dowd didn't get nominated?
no, because she'd had trouble past season 2 getting in. But I think it's sometimes with those character actors and actresses that's like they just want to get them that award that they so deserve that afterwards they just feel like they've done it. They can drop it now. And it's not really her fault, but the show, again, her performance in the penultimate episode of that series, I was like, ooh, she's changed. She's definitely
Dowd,
changed.
like running up the aisle to get her Emmy is like one of my favorite award show moments, period.
And Samira Wiley screaming at her, you won, you won, you won. Like, I was like, that's class.
Amazing.
I was so happy for her. But yeah, I mean, I think the Pit, Noah Wiley's in one of those situations where if he does have the free time to do a film, he could be in a good place. And there's been such a resurgence, and
yeah,
I love that George Clooney wants to talk about him and everything, and I get that he's out there more so. But I just was so happy when I saw an interview where Eric LaSalle was talking about it, because they had so many scenes together that, to me, that's the person. If there's going to be an ER crossover guest, I'm like, no offense, I love Clooney, but I really, yeah,
another beloved TV person that could be in the race this year is Rachel Brosnahan for Saturn Return. I don't know how much goodwill is left over from Maisel necessarily, but like she could make her way in there.
Yeah, she's one to watch. As far as like actors who could ride the goodwill of a parent, and Bryan Cranston is so humble, and he just sounds like any regular father saying, I'm so proud of my daughter. Taylor Dearden is one to look out for, just because she just has so much buzz, but
and
she's got a lot of co-stars.
Yeah, she has the material. Yeah. She was obviously a big part of the second season. So whereas a lot of other supporting characters in the Pit sort of fell off a little bit, she has some scenes. Which, to your point, like how much episodes matter, but
yeah. But she's also got, like, Jane Kasmerick was out there saying, like, I remember her when she was this tiny little girl, and it's so great. It's like her TV mother is like also wants to, like, yeah, it's cute. It's surprised that Issa Briones didn't get nominated, but she'll probably get in next time. But
I mean, it's interesting. She and Patrick Ball could potentially be Tony nominated. They're both doing Broadway stuff, so that could be another area where they pick up awards momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you can't count someone out like Laurie Metcalf, because she just won her third Tony. She got Meryl Streep's stamp of or kiss of approval. And Meryl Streep doesn't say she wants to kiss your feet if she doesn't mean you gave a great performance. I was like, that would be like on repeat if I were her. I'd just be running that as like, that would be my outgoing, that'd be my ringtone. That would be my ringtone. But that's why, like, he's double nominated. Fun fact, she was the first actress from an HBO series to win Guest Comedy Actress. So there's some history for you, but that's why she could be in a good position in that limited series supporting actress race, because it's not got a really strong front runner.
Yeah.
And yes, Monster didn't perform as well as you'd want, but she's nominated, her co-star's nominated. Her co-star didn't go and do the pretty boy thing. He really, Charlie Hunman, he didn't do 50 Shades of Grey when he was offered. And again, When you see Ryan Murphy Productions and you see two of his productions in there, he knows how to cast these things really well.
And Laurie Metcalf got nominated for guest in Hacks for like one monologue, a great monologue, mind you, but one scene. So like Laurie Metcalf, never to be underestimated. I'm really sad that I was like, well, they're just not going to put her in guest and supporting. Ha ha ha. Joke's on me.
I was also like debating whether she was going to get a supporting actress for a comedy series for the Dan Levy series, but Dan Levy series need another year to get their sea legs. But she just has one really great line in there. She goes, "How can your generation be offended by anything when your generation is offended by everything?" And you're stopping, you think about it, you're like, she has a point. Like, it's not a bad point to make.
Well, Amanda, to wrap, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to come up with more actors after we finish doing this, but Sarah Snook, she's nominated this year. She's another one where I feel like with the right movie, she could get an Oscar nomination very soon. And then Jodie Comer, like, I mean, she has like swept all of the sort of theater awards for Prima Facie. She was, has done multiple series that gotten her acclaim. So I feel like she's another one that's like poised for Oscar.
Dakota Fanning, her sister. This is her second nomination herself in the same category.
Yeah, I would love to see Dakota Fanning get an Oscar nomination. Like, and I love Elle Fanning as well, but like to think that Elle got the Oscar nomination before Dakota is so shocking to me, given that like I'm the same age as Dakota Fanning, and she was like the A-list of my generation, literally, because I just couldn't believe that this person was the same age as me and like doing Tom Cruise movies while I had to go to school. Just did not.
Yeah.
So her time will come.
I'm sure it will. She's too good of an actress, and I think the fact that she took time to like mature and grow up and playing this mother, it's a fun role for her, but limited series is the weakest side usually, and if you're looking at like a networks, from networks perspective, HBO used to win this almost every year, and they're barely hanging on to a nomination at this point.
Yeah,
I don't care how many nominations DTF has. I am not watching that. It just looks gross. I don't want to see people.
I just finished it. I will say, like, it's unlike anything that I've ever seen. It's very weird, but it left an impact on me.
Maybe I'll try it again.
I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I watched it, but it was definitely, and I watched it with my mom, so that brought up some ickiness. But
that's like my date when I went to see Kinsey, and I'm like, that was not a good idea. That is not a movie you want to watch on a date.
Amanda, do you have any final thoughts on the Emmys or actors who you think are sort of gonna benefit from the TV glow in the Oscar race in the near future?
I would look out for someone like Jason Bateman because he's made some really good waves, not only as an actor. He's been nominated in all the lead acting races, which is, rare enough as is. He hasn't won, but also because he's made a lot of progress as a director. He's nominated for series. So he is one where, like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said this, but with what he's done with Ozark and what he's done directing, I think he's one that if he found the film he wanted to make and direct, he might be, not considered just an actor anymore, where like they wouldn't feel dirty about potentially nominating him.
Yeah, and not to the same
also just
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, not to the same degree, but I mean, Ben Stiller has also like done a lot of really good prestige TV, and he was never really an awardsy kind of actor, but like maybe he could potentially.
Yeah, he's one who's benefited from television too, because again, you look at what he's done with Escape at Danmora, and then also what he's done with Severance, and especially that Severance series finale. Like, you told me there was just a director who happened to have the same name as Ben Stiller. I'm not being facetious when I would have said, yeah, maybe I believe you. Like maybe he's got to put his middle initial in there, but it's just not your usual actor, director fare.
Yeah.
So,
And I want to mention John Turturro because he has a movie that could potentially put him in the Oscar race this year. And, obviously he's gotten a lot, sort of the first major awards nominations of his career for Severance. So the only living pickpocket in New York. So he could also potentially benefit
John
from
Turturro's had a lot of been in a lot of Emmy races though. He's a past winner.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I was on his IMDb and I'm trying to see what he ended up winning.
Yeah, he won for
Oh, he
Monk.
won for Monk. Yeah, guest actor.
Yeah, he's
for
been
Monk.
nominated for The Night Of. He's been nominated for Severance. He was nominated for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He's a real Emmy favorite. But yeah, I agree with you. He's one of those character actors that could absolutely pop up at an Oscars because he's a character. He's like a character actor. But just to give you one fun one for EGOT sakes, fun fact, Diane Warren did win an Emmy for Till It Happens to You, but the Emmys deemed Lady Gaga's contribution to the song not enough to warrant a nomination. I don't know why. Don't ping me and ask. But she is nominated for The Dead Dance, which is probably the biggest song in the category. So if she wins, we are a Lady Gaga musical away from her potential EGOT, and I would love to see what that musical would look like. But she's got to get past South Park, so it's not a done deal for her. But The Dead Dance was such a huge song, and I always like to make sure if there's an EGOT to potentially get into the 3/4 of the way, look out for that one.
If I were Lady Gaga, I'd already be writing my musical with Andrew Wyatt. Like, just have it in my pocket, have it ready to go.
Sarah Bareilles wrote a great musical, so she didn't win anything for it. But
yeah, you never know. Like Michelle Williams, when she was nominated for a Grammy for the Britney Spears audiobook, I was like so annoyed that she lost because I was like, her Oscar is inevitable. So if she already had the Grammy in her pocket, she could have just been EGOT and finished. So
well, that's like Gwyneth Paltrow is Gwyneth Paltrow very, very quietly has a Grammy in one of those spoken word categories. But say what you want, we could discuss the merits of Glee, but her episode of Glee was like, okay, let's just pencil her name in as the Emmy winner. So again, if she decided to do a play.
And see, I don't understand this because if I was Gwyneth Paltrow, I would be on Broadway every year. I'd be like, you cannot ignore me. Like, I will just.
That's like Helen Mirren. I'm like, why isn't she reading a Queen Elizabeth II autobiography? Like, isn't that how she wins all her awards? Like, where's the Queen Elizabeth biography? Yeah, I would be reading books every year. Well, I read books every year to begin with. More than one book. I don't want to make it seem like all I do is watch TV, but I would be reading books for recording every year.
It's true. I think Kate Winslet, she's also either a Tony away. Yeah, see? I would be on Broadway. Like, literally, you would have to carry me out. I would keep doing it until I inevitably won. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, Amanda, other than The Odyssey, is there anything that you are catching up with, watching right now? Anything you want to tell the folks about?
I'm watching Widow's Bay. It's not a comedy. It's absolutely not a comedy. Let's see, what else am I watching? I've been watching a lot of Netflix documentaries, which always makes me paranoid that I'm about to be murdered.
Oh, any good ones that are like definitely worth?
I actually like The Murder at Monaco, but it's like because the people are so posh and rich and everything, you're like, yeah, it's hard to feel sad for some of those people. But that's about it. I mean, I love House of the Dragon. I like, I really talk about it. I liked A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I wish the little actor who played Egg had gotten nominated. So, but Yeah, actually, I do think Issa Briones, because she did, just to mention this, she just took over a role for a a musical that's already running, will not be eligible at the Tony Awards. Only Patrick Ball, because he was in a new
Mm.
production, would be. Just to get all of our facts straight. But
Yeah, I think honestly, this Emmy, like most of the people that I wanted to see nominated ended up getting nominated. The big snub was like Kaylee Spaney, whereas I just don't understand how she's the best part of Beef season 2, in my humble opinion. So I was really shocked to see
yeah,
her not getting there. But they did a
I
good job.
agree. Yeah. Yeah, the limited series races are a little softer than they usually are because there's not like one clear front runner in any of the categories.
Right. No adolescents this year.
Well, we've had like 4 years of that where it's like adolescence, baby reindeer, where it's like, yeah, just pick it in every category and hope for the best. But I was surprised Richard Gadd did not get another writing nomination. That was the biggest surprise for me.
Oh, the other one, no, I was so
Jamie
shocked that,
Bell,
yeah, Jamie
Jamie
Bell, because I
Bell.
felt like all of anything that I read about that show was mostly highlighting Jamie Bell. It seemed to me like he was sort of had all the oxygen, if you will. He seems like another one. Like, talk about Jamie Bell in awards. Like, he just can never seem to get the traction, get the attention. It's crazy to me. And
Yeah,
he's so talented.
I will say that that is a very hard watch. Like I thought Baby Reindeer was hard. I will give Richard Gadd credit. He has found a way to top himself. I'm like, Jesus. There's a reason why that had to be released one episode a week because that must be the reason why Netflix did not want this because
Oh my
I'm
god.
like, I was like, holy crap. This is tough to get through. I mean, oh my. I was still very surprised considering the writing branch. And there is one episode that is so much about the script where you're just like a little surprised that he didn't get into the
Mm.
writing award. But yeah, that one I can't say I don't blame them because. But Michael Shannon, he's another one. Death by Lightning. He didn't get in. Tom Pelphrey, a past Emmy winner.
Yeah, Death by Lightning unfortunately didn't seem to take off as much as it could have, which is it's one of a very good miniseries, and 4 episodes I
Matt
think pretty,
Ross couldn't
yeah,
get nominated for. Yeah, that's a shame.
highly recommend that one. Um
I really loved it. I thought there was an energy, especially in that first episode, that was. Yeah, and I mean, I love Nick Offerman, but I don't think he's the only person who should have been nominated.
yeah. Well, Amanda, pencil in voicemails for Isabel for Best TV Movie 2027
Okay.
because it's not going to be Oscar eligible, so it's good. It's already they've said it's going to be a TV movie, so pencil it in.
At least they kind of got rid of the rule that like let the documentary winner take a victory lap through the Emmys.
Well, I will say again, I've said it on like 3 different episodes of Chasing the Gold. I really like Mr. Scorsese, the docuseries on Apple TV. If you're like a movie fan and you haven't seen it, it's like, I don't know, like a history lesson, but in the most fun, entertaining way. I highly recommend that one.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen it, but it's hard to see everything.
Oh, it's impossible. I've given up. I will say I've seen way more this year than I normally do. I think it's just weirdly like the stuff that I actually watched. Like I watched All Her Fault just because I like Sarah Snook. I really didn't think it would become an awards thing. Like I'm actually shocked it did as well as it did.
I mean, I
But
think it did decently. It's not nominated in any categories where you could say it went along for the ride, where like it got a lead actor or a supporting actor nomination. I think that 2 acting nods it got were the two it should have gotten. Like no one's just, you know, benefited from being in the series.
well, in terms of what I am catching up with, as I said, I'm just finished season 2 of The Diplomat, which for those of you who have seen season 2, there's a hell of a cliffhanger. So I'm very looking forward to finishing that as soon as possible and binge watching it at a very rapid rate, and I've just been obsessed with soccer, so I'm very much looking forward to the final on Sunday.
I just finished
Even
watching like 2 weeks of tennis, so I can't say
yeah. I become a massive soccer fan every 4 years exactly, and then I forget that the sport exists. So,
Well, I watched so much of the Olympics that I had to watch that Reggie Dinkins show because I saw so many commercials. I kind of got brainwashed into watching it.
I love the
I
right. I thought it was hysterical. I love that show.
I did
Justice
too.
for
I was
Daniel Radcliffe. He should have been nominated.
Yeah, that was one where I was like, I didn't think Tracy Morgan would get in, but I thought in one of those one-off scenarios that Daniel Radcliffe could have gotten nominated. But like I said, I
Yeah.
saw so many commercials for it during the Olympics. I'm like, must watch.
Tony winner Daniel Radcliffe, who's done a lot of great TV work, should at some point get an Emmy nomination. He's like
He
one of
has an
those.
Emmy nomination for limited series actor for playing Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, I was thinking, what is that Miracle? Was it Miracle Workers? That show that he did another show where he was like campaigning really hard for an Emmy and then didn't get the nomination. But
Yeah, he's had some bad luck, but
mm-hmm.
he did get yeah. That was my favorite best song category of all time was Weird Al nominated against Ed Sheeran.
Speaking of
Oh.
weird luck, I would just like the people to know that I'm reading Misery, so I've gone in a
Wow.
really like Stephen Kingy mood. So yeah. It's actually way different of a book than I thought it because it's a lot about like a writer and sort of the idiosyncrasies of all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, that was a great film.
yeah.
Rob Reiner.
I know. Isn't it crazy? I never think of that as like a classic Rob Reiner film because he just directed so many different things. Like his filmography. See, it all comes back to the Emmys, guys. There's always an
Yeah,
Emmy
he got to start
connection.
at the Emmys. Yeah, he
Yeah.
he started out on television, and it is yeah, he's one of those actors who never got a directing nomination at the Oscars. When you consider his entire, I mean, A Few Good Men. I forgot he directed that too.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
So,
gosh. Well, at some point
so,
I need to do a Rob Reiner. We should do a Rob Reiner rewatch and make that a mini series and just talk about Rob Reiner films.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
We won't get
Amanda,
an Oscar nomination, but we might get an Emmy nomination.
we might get a Golden Globe nomination for Best Podcast. If
We would be the least famous people in that category,
right.
but
Yeah,
you
they'd be
know,
like,
hey,
who?
technically we are eligible.
Well, is there like a submission fee? Do you have to like pay to submit yourself for the Golden Globes?
I don't know. We should look into it.
I was gonna say I'm too broke to pay whatever $1,000 fee, but if it's free, I will gladly.
I know. I could just go around telling people you're gonna win, you're gonna lose.
Right. Well, the point of these podcasts, guys, is like you need to hire Amanda and I to be your consultants. Like Amanda just retroactively fixed the Oscar seating chart, and now I'm annoyed that I didn't.
I know. Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know how. Yeah. Let's.
Well, here's a random question to completely throw you for a loop. If there was like one actor and you could, I don't know, be their career coach or something and sort of guide them in a new direction, is there somebody that you're like, just make better choices?
Actually, I think Bradley Cooper would benefit from taking a step back and doing a limited series if he could do the right limited series and like go an awards run. He would be because I think like Michael Keaton was in that same situation a few years ago with Dope Sick, where he, after losing all those awards, really won 4 out of the 5. That, you know, if he could get himself back in the Oscar race, he's rewritten his history, his awards trajectory a little bit. I think someone like Bradley Cooper, if I was going to advise someone to do television and not do like a guest role, but do a limited series, he would be the person I think would benefit from something like that.
That is such a good Good call. I was gonna say Jake Gyllenhaal. I know he got nominated for Presumed Innocent a couple years ago, but I feel like if he has last year, well, if he has like an Emmy run where he actually sort of sweeps and wins stuff, and then he can kind of get back into the Oscars, because it's just crazy to me that he got that one nomination for Brokeback, and he hasn't been able to come back.
Yeah, that was the thing with Ethan Hawke, is that a lot of people believe that the limited series he did was going to be the big changing point, and he won the Globe and he got his SAG nomination, but then he got snubbed at the Emmys. And that was kind of the big drop where it's like, oh, you can't, he wrote and produced and starred in it, and he could not get nominated in any category.
Well, I wonder too.
Was a little crazy, but still, it was.
Yeah, I wonder about Ewan McGregor, because he, hasn't gotten an Oscar nomination yet, but he's done a lot of really good work on television. So I wonder if that could.
Well, he's won an Emmy for Halston.
Yeah,
in a field where he should not have won, and then he won a Golden Globe for season 3 of Fargo.
Yeah,
but if you look at somebody like, his wife and his girlfriend,
in the same speech, phenomenal.
Yeah, and if you remember, Jessie Buckley's one that out of the mess of season 4 of Fargo, she was the only one who received, I believe, a Golden Globe nomination. She probably was the closest to an Emmy nomination for playing like the Nurse Ratched. Yes, you're going to kill me, but can I at least watch you shoot him first? I was like, I loved her, but you can definitely see how that kind of led to her uptick. But look at Olivia Colman a few years ago, 6-7 years ago. She had The Night Manager, then she had The Favorite, and then she had The Crown. Like, talk about TV changing your career. It is possible to see someone really have their career breakthrough, and that could be like Charles Melton. Carey Mulligan is the one to watch, though, for that. She should be out there campaigning for this, because this is her chance in a soft field to rewrite her awards trajectory. So the next time, if you're supporting, go supporting. That's what Michelle Williams learned the hard way. But yeah.
Okay, we're gonna end it there. Career advice for Carey Mulligan and Michelle Williams.
Well, I'm just saying, like, for Carey Mulligan, this is her moment. Yeah. This is her chance. She's really the one.
I totally agree. Yeah. And because especially as you were saying, like, because we don't even have a limited series front runner, and that category doesn't have a front runner, she is really well positioned. And she's so good. Like, I know Beef season 2 hasn't like hit the zeitgeist the way the first season did, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it there's a lot going on, and it's like a very understated in some ways season, but it's very, very good. If it was up to me, I would say maybe I would like Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan and Charles Melton to win.
I think Charles Melton might be, of the 4, the one I would gravitate towards the most, because I think he has a lot to do, because he's being pulled between being a part of his culture. He's never had that opportunity, and being pulled towards the woman he loves. And
well, I will say, Amanda, you refused to watch DTF St. Louis, but if you did, you'd be rooting for David Harbour to win.
Okay, well, I will try again. I just found maybe the previews were a little like, I don't want to watch these people.
Right, yeah.
Try to sleep with each other, but okay.
I have the same reaction, don't worry. So in the meantime, while you're binge watching DTF St. Louis, where can people find you on the internet, Amanda? Where can people follow, track your work?
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Amanda Spears, and on Instagram if you want to watch my dog Charge the TV. Yeah, he liked Beef. He liked the dog and Beef. So like that little sweater.
I was gonna say, hopefully things work out better for your pup than the pup and Beef.
Poor thing.
I'm Shadan Larkey. You can find me at Shadan Larkey everywhere. Please rate, review, follow In Session Film everywhere. Give us your comments about what TV you've been loving lately. As I said, we'll come back next week with all things The Odyssey, but Let us know how the year has been shaken out, both in terms of film, TV, music, books, all the things you love. Any and all comments, we always love to get them, and they help boost us in the algorithm with the powers that be. Amanda, thank you so much for being here once again. I can't wait to have you back.
Welcome. Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure. That's a wrap for us at Chasing Gold. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.